I would like to give a special shout out to all my patrons who have supported my hobby and passion even more. Thank you so much for everything. Hi everyone, Petrik here. Today's video will be a book review and also an illustrated edition review of The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. So this is this one. Yeah, this is The Last Wish illustrated edition published by Orbit Books, and the UK edition, this one is published by Gollancz. But before we get into talking about this book, I just want to say thank you so much to all of you who have congratulated me on my marriage. Yes, I'm married now. Thank you so much to all of you who have congratulated me on my marriage across my social media. I know that it was difficult for me to reply to every one of you because there are so many comments. So I'm sorry for that, but really, I took a read through every messages. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. Really, I truly appreciate it. Due to wedding planning and also the wedding itself, this was the reason why my my reading pace really suffered this month. Last month as well, but this month is the worst because so far I've read only 3 books, and this is the 3rd book that I finished within this month. Now, yeah, I'm going to be talking about The Last Wish first, and then I will be talking about the edition itself. I will do a comparison of the US and the UK edition. So for The Witcher, similar to millions of readers, probably gamers back then, now readers around the world, I knew about The Witcher through my experience of playing the video games, especially The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is one of my favorite games of all time. I have spent more than 100 hours playing that game, and even though it has been years since I played that game, I still think about the characters, the world, and well, everything about it frequently. And many years ago, during my time of playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, I actually read The Last Wish short story. Just The Last Wish. Not the collection of short stories, but just the one that's titled The Last Wish. But that's it. Because people told me that this is the one that will be the most necessary for you to understand the context between Geralt and Yennefer in the game. So I did that, but that's it. I haven't read any of the short stories, but I have actually watched the TV series adaptation, which I quite enjoyed. I have made The Witcher as one of my top priority series to start and finish within last year, but I wasn't able to get to it. But after seeing The Last Wish illustrated edition being released, well, I decided to wait for it to come out and then made this my first experience of reading The Last Wish. So is it all worth it? I will say yes. As someone who loved the game a lot, I honestly don't expect the books to be able to live up to the quality of the games, even though they are completely different medium of storytelling, but still the experience and the immersion and also the sense of escapism that I got from playing the game, it was simply insane. It was incredible. And I'm not saying that books cannot achieve that. In fact, usually it's the other way around. Usually books are better than their adaptations. But in the case of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, I am kinda not too confident that the books will be able to live up to it, but you know what, we'll see. Especially because the Witcher video games are supposedly a continuation to the book series. And I fully expect that I would love reading the books, otherwise why even bother reading through them, right? I will be reviewing this book based on my thoughts on the overall package first, and then I will be talking about the illustrated edition. The Last Wish is chronologically the first set of short stories in The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski, but publication-wise, The Last Wish was published after Sword of Destiny. It has frequently been mentioned that The Last Wish works so well as an introduction to the characters and world of the Witcher saga, and as far as a reading guide goes, I think The Last Wish indeed worked nicely as technically the first book of the series. There are 7 short stories in The Last Wish, and one of the short stories, titled The Voice of Reason, takes place in the present time frame. Geralt of Rivia is a witcher. After being injured in battle, he's resting in a temple during the present time frame. He's recounting some of the recent events he encountered, and these flashbacks are told in a short story format. But there is one exception. The present time frame is a short story or novella interspersed throughout the novel. I read Hyperion by Dan Simmons last month, and the relatively unconventional format of The Last Wish reminded me of that. If you know my reading taste, then you will probably know that I'm not a fan of short stories in fantasy. I tend to find them kinda underwhelming, usually because of their, shorter length. The Last Wish and probably Sword of Destiny have this working against their favor. Or at least that's what I thought, but that's certainly not the case. Especially considering that, as I said, I've watched the TV series adaptation, I knew about the events of The Last Wish before I get into reading the book. That's why it's so surprising to me that I still found myself so intrigued by the narrative. Other than the age of the world, which I found to be very underwhelming, I actually enjoyed all the short stories contained in this collection. My thoughts on the characters are undoubtedly influenced by my feelings on the characters of the games. I don't think I can change this no matter how hard I try. I read this collection of short stories. My thoughts and imagination treat the narrative as a prequel to the video games. Whether they're actually canon or not, at this moment they are canon in my head. And because of this, I am slightly more receptive and biased towards the characters and the world. Even if we only get to see glimpses and an introduction to them here, it felt like I was reading the origin story of the Witcher video games characters I came to love already. A Grain of Truth, The Lesser Evil, and A Question of Price were my favorite short stories in The Last Wish. I didn't have much of an issue reading The Last Wish. Themes of morality and ambiguous characters' actions were discussed well in a relatively short novel. That being said, as I mentioned earlier, having watched the TV series already definitely decreased my satisfaction. Only alternate reality Petrik could confirm this, but I would have enjoyed The Last Wish more if I hadn't watched the TV series adaptation first. Also, this has been talked plenty of times, but regarding the prose, well, there were a few sentences that feel a bit awkward. But I heard from many Polish readers that this is not because of Sapkowski, but mainly because of the quality of the translation. So maybe that's really the case. So I'm not going to fault Sapkowski here. And even if the fault lies within the quality of translation, honestly, I don't have much of an issue. I actually expected much worse than this. Other than this, I think The Last Wish is a solid collection of short stories that introduce The Witcher. I have played the video games, I have watched the TV series adaptation so far, and I really enjoyed this one as well. It somehow felt like I was watching Geralt doing side quests just like I did with playing the video games. And well, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to reading Sword of Destiny probably within next month. Now I will be reviewing the illustrated edition. So the US edition of the illustrated edition is published by Orbit, and the entire project, if I'm not mistaken, is handled by Lauren Panepinto. That includes the UK edition as well. So first, what are the differences between the US edition and the UK edition? Honestly, almost all of them are exactly the same. The only differences is this. The UK edition is published by Gollancz, and if you take a look closely, the color looks a bit different. I don't know if you can see it here or not, but this one is published by Orbit. This one, the color is definitely red, and the one published by Gollancz looks more maroon. But the design on the spine and also on the back cover are exactly the same. Hold on. Yeah, ta-da! See? Also, the one published by Orbit has thinner paper compared to the one published by Gollancz. See? And then there is one more difference, and that is in the design of the naked hardcover. So this is the naked hardcover of the US edition, and this one is the UK edition. But the quotes are exactly the same. People like to invent monsters and monstrosities, then they seem less monstrous themselves. Oh, and also the US edition is more floppier than the UK edition. So that's pretty much the differences between the US and UK edition. As for the content, the illustrated edition has a special end paper. Look, this is so pretty. And of course, the main course of the illustrated edition, this edition has 8 interior artworks by 8 different artists. First, we have Jeremy Wilson, and then we have Thimothée Arnold, one of my favorite artists who also did this beautiful cover art. And then the third one, we have Brenneise, and after that, Jen Bartel, Alan Williams, Martina Fačková, Winona Nelson, and finally, Kiri Leonard. I think every artist here did a spectacular job with the story they got. But my favorites will have to be Thimothée Arnold's on The Grain of Truth, which is this one. Yeah, this is so beautiful. I think Thimothée Arnold did an excellent job on this. And then The Lesser Evil by Brenneise. I really love this one. I think if I have to really choose only one, I think this one will have to be my favorite of them all, because if you have read or watched the short story, well, this one takes place after the butcher of Blaviken scene. The color and the depiction on this art display the weight of guilt and the blood spilled caused by Geralt in choosing the lesser evil. It is truly brilliant. And another favorite of mine is Martina Fačková's art on The Last Wish. This is Yennefer, and I think you have seen this probably on social media. I really love this one as well. I think this really captured what Yennefer looks like. Also, if you don't know, Martina Fačková is the cover artist behind The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan, and I think she is an incredible artist. As for the rest of the artworks, you have to, well, get it and find it for yourself. The artworks I shared should have provided enough reasonings on whether you should purchase this edition or not. I personally say yes, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of books with interior artworks. Amazing interior artworks could actually enhance the quality of the narrative, and I think this is one of those cases. It must have been difficult for Lauren Panepinto to choose the right artist, and I think she has done an excellent job in choosing, well, the right artist for each short story. I will be talking about artwork, cover art, and cover design with Lauren Panepinto on this channel really soon, but overall, I think, yes, if you haven't read The Witcher, this edition is a great place to start. And if you're a fan of The Witcher, this is so worth it to put into your collection, and for its price, I think this is very much worth it. I sincerely wish that this illustrated edition has enough sales for it to earn a sort of Destiny illustrated edition as well, because if this doesn't do well, there won't be an illustrated edition for the rest of the series. So yeah, that's my review for The Last Wish and, well, for the illustrated edition as well. Let me know what you think about The Witcher, the games, or maybe the TV show, or maybe this book. And also, if you own this illustrated edition already, let me know your thoughts on that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye.